In a 100-degree heat wave, your first instinct is to reach for the hose, but before you spray a single drop, there's something already sitting in your garage that cools the coop faster than water ever will. No fans, no electricity, no moisture. It's one reflective material and one law of physics almost nobody uses correctly. Do this first, then we'll talk about water. When the heat hits 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and your hens are standing around with their wings held out and their beaks wide open, the panic sets in. Your first instinct is to grab the hose, set it to a fine mist, and soak the run, the ground, and the coop roof. I did exactly that. Every July, I thought I was building them a cool oasis. Then one afternoon, I actually checked it with a thermometer and a hygrometer. It was 96 degrees outside at around 45% humidity. After 45 minutes of misting, the temperature inside the coop had barely moved, but the humidity had spiked to nearly 85%. The air was thick and suffocating like a stagnant greenhouse. My well-meaning misting system had turned the coop into a deadly sauna, and a hen in that kind of trapped, humid heat doesn't have long. Once her core climbs past about 113 degrees, her organs start to shut down. The warning signs come fast, the panting turns frantic, the wings sag, the comb goes pale, and she stops moving. I've stood in a coop watching a hen do exactly that, fanning her uselessly with a piece of cardboard, only to realize the misting I'd done an hour earlier was part of what put her there. She pulled through. But that afternoon is why I stopped trusting my instincts and started trusting a thermometer. Here's why it backfires. Chickens have no sweat glands. Their only real way to shed heat is panting, moving air across the moist membranes of their airway so moisture evaporates and carries their body heat away. A hot hen goes from about 30 breaths a minute to over 130, but panting only works if the surrounding air is dry enough to accept that moisture. Pack the air full of water and it saturates. The hen breathes out warm, moist air, and the ambient air simply refuses to take it. Her one cooling lever shuts off. That's the heat index at work. The same reason 96 degrees feels brutal in a muggy Houston backyard and almost pleasant in dry Phoenix inside a misted closed coop. I've watched a 96-degree day produce a heat index well north of 105. Do you feel cooler in a muggy room or a dry one? There's one climate where water flips into an asset. I'll come back to that. But if you reach for the hose before you fix the real problem, you're gambling with your flock. And the real heat load isn't the warm air drifting through the windows. To fix coop heat for good, stop thinking about air temperature and start thinking about energy. Most keepers assume the coop is hot simply because the outside air is hot, that if it's 98 degrees out, it's 98 inside. But step into a closed coop at 2 in the afternoon, and it feels far hotter inside than out in the open yard, with an almost physical weight pressing down on your head. I went looking for where that extra energy comes from with an infrared laser thermometer. During a 94-degree afternoon, the shaded ground under a tree read about 88, the wooden coop walls about 102, but the underside of the bare metal roof read 142. That roof was a running appliance, radiating heat straight down onto the roosts and the bedding below. You already know what radiant heat feels like. Even if you've never named it, stand next to a campfire on a cool night, and the side of you facing the flames roasts while your back stays cold. The air around you hasn't changed at all, but the fire is throwing invisible energy straight at your skin. Your coop roof does the exact same thing to your birds for 8 hours straight every clear day. This is radiant heat, and it behaves nothing like the warm air we usually blame. All day the sun soaks your roof, shingles, metal, plywood, it doesn't matter, until the material saturates and starts re-radiating that energy downward as invisible infrared travels in a straight line through the air without warming the air itself. It keeps going until it strikes something solid. A chicken's body, the bedding, the nest boxes, and only then does it convert into heat you can feel. So even with great cross-ventilation and a steady breeze, your birds are being cooked from above by an invisible grill. The shade of a solid roof is not the shade of a tree. A leaf stays cool through moisture and biology, while your roof just keeps climbing. Want to feel it yourself. At midday, hold the back of your bare hand 2 inches under the inside ceiling without touching it, and feel the heat pushing down against your skin. Once you feel that, you'll understand why more water or a floor fan misses the target entirely. We have to intercept that wave of energy before it reaches the interior, with a material that doesn't absorb heat but reflects it. You don't need air conditioning or wiring to stop infrared. You need one basic law of physics and a piece of material probably already sitting in your garage, a foil-faced reflective barrier. That could be a leftover roll of radiant barrier insulation, a sheet of foil-faced foam board, or even the accordion-style silver windshield sunshade from your car. If your garage is empty, it's a cheap hardware store buy, but everything depends on how you position it against the roof. That silver surface has very low emissivity and very high reflectivity for infrared. Ordinary roofing absorbs up to 90% of the radiant heat that hits it. A clean foil face reflects roughly 95% of it straight back. Mount it under the roof, and it becomes a mirror for infrared before that heat ever reaches the birds below. But here's the catch that trips up almost everyone. Staple the foil flat against the hot roof in direct contact, and the whole thing fails. Press tight to the roof, heat stops traveling as radiant waves and switches to conduction, direct transfer through solid contact, and passes right through the foil into your coop. You might be wondering why not just paint the roof white or pack the ceiling with regular insulation. White paint helps a little, it lowers how much solar heat the roof absorbs in the first place. But it does nothing to stop the heat that still gets through from radiating down onto your birds, and ordinary mass insulation like fiberglass fights conduction, not radiation. It slows heat down, but it still soaks it up and eventually passes it along. A radiant barrier is the only cheap option that actually turns the infrared around and sends it back where it came from. That's why the shiny surface matters more than thickness here. This is about reflectivity, not bulk. To unlock the physics, you must leave an air gap of at least 3/4 of an inch in front of the silver side. Infrared can only cross open space. When the hot roof pushes its energy down, the waves cross the gap, hit the foil, and stop the foil's emissivity is too low to release that heat into the space below it. A thin silver sheet, plus a pocket of empty air, creates a thermal disconnect that isolates your coop interior from the roof above. It sounds like textbook theory until you measure it. I ran a controlled test on my own coop on a blistering afternoon, 96 degrees. Clear sky, no wind. I left one half of the roof completely bare as a control, and on the other half I mounted a basic foil barrier, keeping a consistent 1-inch air gap between the foil and the metal decking. I let it bake until 3 in the afternoon, the peak of the day's heat, then stepped inside with the laser thermometer. Under the bare side, I could feel the heat pressing down on my face. The metal ceiling read about 142 degrees, and the air beneath it was stagnant and superheated. Then I aimed the laser at the reflective side. It read about 98, nearly 44 degrees cooler than the bare metal right next to it. Down at roost level, the air on the protected side was roughly 8 to 10 degrees cooler than the uninsulated side. The birds told the same story before I even read the meters, within a day of putting the barrier up. They'd abandoned the bare half of the coop entirely and crowded onto the shaded side to dust bathe and loaf through the afternoon. When I pointed the laser at the bedding, the litter under the bare roof read close to 110 degrees, while the litter under the barrier sat in the low 90s. They weren't reading my thermometer, they were feeling the difference and voting with their feet. Be honest with yourself about what this does. Though a radiant barrier is a passive defense, not a refrigerator, it can't cool the coop below the outdoor air temperature. If it's 96 in the yard, the coop air will eventually reach 96 through normal air exchange. What it kills is the artificial spike from solar radiation. It stops your coop from becoming a 105 or 110 degree hot box and brings it back to true shade temperature where the bird's own cooling can actually work. With that radiant load stripped off the roof, we can finally turn back to the hose and the one situation where water flips from a trap into a real tool. The rule against spraying water isn't universal. It depends entirely on your climate. In a humid region, Georgia, Florida, the Gulf Coast, the summer air is already near saturation, so any mist or spray inside the coop just pushes the humidity to the ceiling and shuts down panting completely. But in a dry, arid climate, Arizona, New Mexico, the high desert, the physics flip in your favor. There, the summer air can sit in the single digits or low teens for humidity, with an enormous capacity to absorb moisture, mist it or wet the ground, and the water flashes to vapor almost instantly, pulling a large amount of heat out of the air as it evaporates. That's evaporative cooling. And in genuinely dry air, it can drop the ambient temperature by 15 to 20 degrees. So check a hygrometer in your own yard before you decide anything. Below about 40% humidity, water is a safe secondary lever. Above 55 or 60% during a heat wave, keep the hose away from the coop interior and rely on dry shading and maximum airflow instead. I've watched a neighbor in a humid summer do everything right except this: Good shade, open vents, and then run a mister on a timer through the hottest part of the day. His birds went listless and quit laying, and he couldn't work out why. Because misting is supposed to help. It was drowning the very air they needed to breathe cool. One look at his hygrometer, sitting at 78%, told the whole story, and this reflective barrier is built to work alongside airflow, not replace it. On my own property, I spent weeks building a full passive cooling system underneath it. It runs on the chimney effect, continuous ridge venting along the peak of the roof, paired with low intake vents at the base of the walls, so hot air rises and escapes at the top, while the vacuum pulls cooler air in down below. No electricity involved. That same setup couples the floor to the cool, deep earth and swaps insulating straw bedding for a thick layer of coarse, washed river sand that acts as a cold thermal sink. The birds can dust bathe against the reflective barrier is the single fastest, highest impact piece of that whole system. One you can install in a weekend for an immediate win before you ever commit to cutting ridge fence or replacing your floor. Let's get it mounted right. You don't need construction skills for this. Just a utility knife, a heavy-duty staple gun, a tape measure, and a few thin wood furring strips to set your air gap. Start by measuring the bays between your roof rafters. For flexible material like a windshield shade or a roll of radiant foil, cut strips to the width of each bay, plus about 2 inches on each side for a fastening lip. For rigid foil-faced foam board, cut the panels for a snug friction fit between the rafters. Before you fasten anything, get the reflective side facing the air gap. This is what makes the physics work. Mounted beneath the roof, the shiny side faces up into the empty pocket between the barrier and the decking. If your material is double-sided or you're mounting it flush to the bottom edge of the rafters, make sure a shiny face points down into the open room of the coop where it refuses to radiate heat downward. The one failure to avoid is crushing the foil flat against the roof. To lock in that 3/4 inch to 1 inch gap, staple or screw your furring strips to the sides of the rafters about an inch below the roof decking. They act as a shelf the panels rest against, holding the material away from the hot roof. And don't cover your vents. If you have soffit vents at the eaves or a ridge vent at the peak, run the barrier parallel to the roof, but stop just short of those openings. The air inside that gap will get hot, but with the vents open, it rises and escapes out the ridge, carrying the trapped heat right out of the building. Start to finish, this is an afternoon of work and usually somewhere between $20 and $40 in material. If you buy a roll fresh, less if you're repurposing what's already in the garage. It pays off most on metal and dark shingle roofs, which are the worst radiant offenders. If you've already got a light, well-insulated roof, you'll still gain, just less dramatically. The one long-term gotcha is sag. Foil, stapled too loosely, will droop over a season until it touches the roof, and the moment it makes contact, you've lost the air gap and the entire effect with it. Pull it drum tight when you mount it, and check it once a summer. Do that, and you've got a continuous, self-ventilating shield holding the lower half of your coop stable through the worst of the afternoon. Once it's up, you'll see the change fast. Less time spent panting in the corners, more birds moving naturally through their space, because you've removed the single largest source of heat stress in their home. So take a close look at your own setup. What roofing material are you running? And are you in a humid climate or a dry desert one? Drop your specific details in the comments so we can fine-tune your airflow. And let me know if you're getting this reflective barrier installed before the next major heat wave hits this weekend.